Hello everyone and welcome to a game called Dicentra. Dicentra is a beautiful visual novel. It's a devil and but dang, look at all the work they already did on like the opening for this art. Even the little curtains going back and forth, man. It just puts you in the mood. There's this beautiful aesthetic. Let's go ahead and start the game. This game contains content with blood, death, violence, unhealthy relationships between characters, and horrific imagery that players may find uncomfortable or disturbing. Player discretion is advised. Please play responsibly and take care of yourself. So if you're not in the mood for that, not in the mood for the depresso espresso like I am, and maybe don't watch it. But other than that, let's get into it, shall we? I drag myself through the rain. It blurs my vision, forcing me to feel my way through the forest, wind crushing against me from all sides. Prayer is my only form of navigation, but I think the blood running through my veins prevents me from landing in God's graces. I fumble over the tangle of roots and slip over wet moss. My bones instantly shudder from the cold shock running through my nails as I grab onto a nearby rock. A pathetic whine escapes my throat. My grandmother would have a ball if she could see me now. I can hear her snide remark already. See what happens when you don't listen to me? As if I wouldn't survive long enough to hear the real deal. I sniffle in frustration and try to shake the feeling away with the rain dripping down my face. She's always right, of course. For a moment, my defiance has given me everything I wanted. Lost in thought, I lost control of my limbs. I'm not used to using them all at once, and it's enough to throw me back into the slick earth. Now I really want to cry. The storm is harsh. A thick canopy of trees above me does little shield me from its rage. They passively turn their leaves away instead, tempting me to scream my grandmother's harshest curses at them. Am I losing it? I shakily lift myself from the ground, snorting weakly into a puddle. For the middle of summer, it sure is pouring hard. The rain feels like shards of ice against my skin. I watch it distort the reflection in the puddles with ripples. In the brief moments where the reflection almost settles, I see piercing yellow eyes, dark fur, and wilted ears sleek and clinging to the small, vulnerable form of a wolf pup. The voice of my grandmother hisses in my mind. What have you done, Basil? I need to get back home. I tear away from the puddle and trek on. Oh, I am the wolf. Ow! Please, something, lead me back home. Something, anything. Maybe that's a risky thing to ask of this forest, though, because something answers. It's so fate that I question if it's even real. A howl cuts through the wind, or perhaps it's the wind that shrieks away from the sound that ambles through. Fighting my way through the storm has exhausted my body. The frontal lobe of my brain begins to neglect its responsibility to remember what reason is. All my instincts scream to ignore it, but my heart, a stupidly curious thing, makes me take a step forward. My fuzzy ears pick up the heavy sound of my heart pounding. I try to convince myself it's because of fear. I need to focus on where the howling's coming from. As I get closer to the sound, it begins to resemble crying. The storm has also started to retract its claws. Was it the forest showing mercy, or has it submitted to something more formidable? I've lived in the forest my whole life. I should know better than anyone to never get too comfortable. A red light per perforates the dark atmosphere. And it's a beautiful one at that. Can we move forward now? I swallow harshly. There's a mansion in the middle of the woods. I can't see it, but now I can. From a distance, it would look abandoned, if not for the hazy red light coming from the rooftop. I squint. Is that a greenhouse? A shadowy figure moves quickly behind the clear walls, startling me. I duck into a tall and neglected grass that grows in the mansion's yard. After a short while, I peek for the blades. The shadow is gone. Did I imagine it? I release a nervous sigh and observe the grounds for any sign of life or death. It was a bad idea to come here, a terrible one even, yet here we are. I can't stand here. I retreat back to the shadows of the forest, keeping the mansion in the light of my sight. Why? I want to explore that place. The moment I feel bold enough to turn my back against it, a powerful gale slams into me. I tumble back hard, skidding across the ground and into the tall grass with a cry. It takes me a moment to recover from my swirling vision. I let out a whimper as pain blooms from my arm. It's too dark to see clearly, but it swells up when I try to move. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I grit my teeth and get back on my feet, keeping my weight off my arm as I make for the forest again. Again, I'm denied entrance by the mysterious force. It's the invisible wall, you know? In video games where you can't go to the next area because of the invisible wall. The shadow, I guess. Panic starts to seep through my bones. I almost wish I could go back to the feeling hopeless. For some reason. I stare at the trees as though they suddenly start playing nice. But beings as ancient as them do not bend to anyone's will but their own. The wind gives one more shove. It insists I move forward. I bare my adolescent fangs at it to smother the hurt. I know now that my choices were nothing but illusions. I never had a choice. I always had to go down the path I've chosen. I face the mansion once again. It's clear that something or someone from the inside is inviting me in. With no other choice, I creep along the warm brick walls of the mansion and try to find a way in. And this is gonna be our first save, baby, at this choice. So I'm gonna go the devious route. I go somewhere else. I'll just go somewhere else. A faint knocking grabs my attention. I pad to the back of the mansion, and my saving grace comes in the form of a door left slightly ajar. See, I didn't even need to do the window or the cellar door. Just had to walk around. Aha! I nudge my nose in the tight gap, and relief washes over me when it parts. Then, creak! An ear-piercing screech echoes through the mansion as the hinges begin to shift. From the looks of it, they haven't moved for a long time. The feeling of ice floods my veins. I stay frozen in the doorway. If this mansion is inhabited, there's no way I didn't just announce my entrance. Fear takes over again. My back paw intuitively steps back so I can attempt to run as far away from this place as I can. Crack! The sound of thunder explodes behind me. I feel my body take on a life of its own as I throw myself into the mansion against my will. The door slams on my way in. I breathe shallowly, When I come to my senses, I'm in the kitchen. Time to get some food, baby. You're probably hungry. It's dark inside the house. The only source of light comes from the window above the counters. Everything beyond its reach is a void. I see a kitchen table and crawl towards it, scratching my nails along the musty wood flooring in a rush to get beneath it. I stay under the table as my breathing starts returning to a normal pace. My eyes are wide and my ears are perked up, on the lookout for anything that could be a threat. The only sounds I pick up are heavy drums of rain from outside and the occasional creak of the mansion walls breathing in the night air. When I'm confident that there's no sign of life inside the manor, I crawl back into the open and immediately shake off as much rain and mud as I can. I let myself celebrate the minor luxury of finally escaping the maws of the weather, but I don't let my nerves calm down just yet. As soon as my eyes adjust better to the dark, I take the time to study my surroundings more. I notice a hearth that lacks any recent maintenance. Dishes crowd the counter, and a thick layer of dust forces me to smother a sneeze. This place hasn't been occupied in a long time. Surely I can allow myself to breathe just a little bit easier in this space, at least until the storm wanes. I bring in a deep inhale, being careful not to get any dust, and tread cautiously. As I stalk further in, I hold my breath at every corner, looking carefully in all directions for danger. The rest of the mansion is as devoid of life as the kitchen. Most of the rooms here have closed doors. The one I could see in were graciously empty, sans the derelict furniture within. Derelict? Derelict. Sans the derelict furnishing? I don't know. Barely anything is in decent shape. I couldn't guess how long it's been since a human lived in this manor, but based on the scratched hardwood floors and the broken but intricate-looking side table nestled in the dark corner, I have the impression that this place was neglected even while it was occupied. Well, that's fine with me, as long as it's abandoned, I guess. Though we did see that shadowy figure, so it's probably not. My nails tap on the floor as I limp into the hallway. My mind settles from the adrenaline. The ache in my front leg starts to swell, and the heat of my body intensifies the pain. Paintings line the wall from end to end, and it's hard to see them in the dark, though I would like to see them, I guess. Man, it would be cool to go around and take, like, pictures of this place. I know it's fictional. That'd be fun. Through glimpses of light, I can make out some faded landscapes, a few mountains, some castles, and a couple of portraits. One portrait in particular catches my eye. I just noticed that everything was silent, and that's a little spooky. I stop in front of it. I stare at the portrait, foolishly thinking that it's staring right back. Surely it's just a slight fever settling in and making me come up with silly things. I don't think I lost my mind just yet, though. As I observe the side profile of a pale woman, I notice that she's eerily the most realistic painting I've seen so far. When she turns her head to look down my tiny form, every hair of my body goes stiff. Her lovely features captured in oil begin to melt off as she steps out from the painting. Oh my gosh, we're in Eve again. Smooth ivory skin shrivels to a deathly pallor. The elaborate gown clinging to her sharp shoulders begins to rot as her torso parts open like a blooming rose, revealing decaying bones and organs that run down her skirt like horrific decor. Oh my goodness. Look at that. It's beautiful. I immediately start running away as fast as I physically can. No, why would you abandon her? She just wants to give you a hug and probably consume you into her body. It looks like. Um, as I scramble to get away on my hurt leg, I run. I hear something that might be worse than a ghost. The woody and spicy scent of incense fills the humid air, creating a hazy purple fog. The sound of chains moving in a controlled rhythm rattles me to the marrow in my bones. Footsteps follow shortly after, growing louder alongside the clinking chains. It's coming from the staircase. My breath quickens. I slide to a halt and backtrack away from the sounds. I look behind me and see the glowing apparition of a woman's hunched form stumbling towards me, dragging a trail of gore and wet squelch. Hide. I need to hide. But where? My eyes dart across every inch of the hallway, desperately searching for a small sanctuary. The footsteps are right behind me. The ghost is right in front of me. The hallway now feels like a tomb. All of the doors are firmly shut. I press against the wall, a heart skipping a beat, when I notice a faint tapping sound coming from behind me. I turn around and witness the outline of a door revealing itself. I waste no time moving my muzzle between the crack to wrench it open. If she's a ghost, can't you just, like, run right through her, though? Like, I guess you don't want to be possessed, but, like, you're a wolf. You run fast enough, right? You gotta run so fast you can't be possessed. As soon as I pry the door open, I hurl myself through, back into the darkness. I mean, if she's a ghost, that door's not gonna stop her. I walk backwards away from the door, keeping my eyes on it. I'm so focused on the door that I bump into something cold and almost trip over it. I look up and see a dark iron staircase curling to the high ceiling. A hatch near the top is open, letting the rain from the outside drip into the cold metal. Ooh, it's pretty. Look at that staircase. I love that. I hear footsteps once again, this time much louder. I don't dare to breathe or move. There you are. You kind of look like, Jester from the Trapped in Jester, um, one that we did. The visual novel. Trapped with the Jester, you kind of look like the Jester. At least your silhouette does, so. There you are. The voice startles me into moving. No way I was about to stick around and find out what fate awaits me. Every fiber of my being, fibre, I think it's fiber, but fibre, of my being is ringing with danger as I climb the stairs with only adrenaline instructing my limbs. I drag myself up the iron steps until I'm bursting into the roof and back into the storm. I'm not thinking anymore. I see the greenhouse I had spotted earlier and sprint towards it as fast as I can. I search for a small space to crawl into, tripping over a mess of vines along the way. Thunder and lightning roar above me. A bright flash of white blinds me. I can feel my claws scratching against the wet tile. My character's a very scaredy cat character, and it's running from all the good stuff that's happening to it. A door slams shut in the distance, causing a rippling effect in the wall and reaching the rooftop. When the rippling stops, everything goes quiet. The energy of the manor shifts completely. A jolt of lightning from the storm makes my fur stand. It changes the air and saturates it with the smell of ozone. I shake the rain from my face. The whole world has fallen silent, except for the sound of chilling drip. Basil. I freeze. My eyes carefully follow the coil of dead roots on the gray floor of the greenhouse. Drip. I follow its trail all the way to the blood dripping onto the dirty tiles and the pale feet beside it. Drip. My eyes climb the mysterious figure. I don't think I'll ever forget the sight before me, for as short as I live. Drip. Lightning flashes brightly through the tall windows. Looming rose bushes creep along them. White roses speckle across the dark leaves like stars in the night. The bright flowers begin to bleed red before my very eyes. At the rose bush crimson-soaked center, a small girl stands with her back towards me. Blood drips from tiny bite marks all over her hand. A red flower bulb is crushed between her delicate fingers. Drip, drip, drip. Wow, look at this place. It's absolutely gorgeous in a grim way. Instead of a strong floral scent, the smell of burning paper and wilted lilacs flood my senses. A whine unwillingly crawls up my throat and cuts through the silence. Time resumes once again. The girl turns, her gaze piercing right through me. The bulb drops from her hand, and she doesn't say a word. Her attention is mine, against my own will. Black dots begin to appear in the corners of my vision. The last thing I saw was her walking towards me, before everything faded to dark. Uh-oh. My fever is brutal throughout the night. Oh, what's going on throughout the night? Are you stuck in that greenhouse with that girl? What's she doing? Is she making me a nice tea so I can heal everything in my body? Because it seems like she is a witch. I slip in and out of consciousness to flames beneath my skin, and an ache I'd rather sleep off than face. Maybe this is some weird fever dream. I slip in and out of consciousness to flames beneath my skin and an ache I'd rather sleep off than face. I try to let my body go back to sleep, but strong hands force my jaws open and shove something down my throat. Of course she's gonna heal me. I called it. The intrusion makes me violently resist, but I'm far too weak to fend the intruder away. The dark takes me into its arms once again. I awake to a tang of rusty metal and humid air. Also, why would she save me though? That's the real question. It seems like she is saving me, but why? What if she is saving me to fan me up and eat me? I mean, could be anything, right? The unfamiliar sensation makes my eyes snap open. Beyond the small cage that holds me, it's dark and dim. Or if she just wants a new pet. That would suck. I don't want to be a pet. I want to be wild. Out in the woods. Yeah. I clench my jaw as I examine my surroundings. Soon my eyes fixate on the ghost staring at me from outside my mental prison. Oh, there she is. I yelp and throw my body backwards, hitting the back of the cage. I expect the bite of hard metal on my back, but something smooth bends around my shape instead. It hisses at me in response. I don't think it liked that very much. My claws scrape the old floor of the cage as I spin. The bars behind me morph into slithering vipers in a defensive stance. Each one bearing their fangs in anger. Careful. Their venom will make the blood in your body solidify in seconds. That wouldn't be a very pleasant way to die. I look at the ghost in horror. I'm breathing so quickly that I'm convinced I'll die from the lack of oxygen. Or so I think. The vipers settle back into the metal bars and I make myself small. I don't want to risk testing their patience again. The ghost is not a ghost, but a girl. Her hair looks like ink that has been violently knocked over and spilled onto the floor. It melts into the dark surroundings, contrasting her gray and sickly-looking skin. Her expression is bent limp. I see her hands tightly clutching her white gown. Do you bite? Do you? I want to ask. I reveal my teeth through a snarl and watch as she shows hers with a small smile. The fur along my spine stands up. She starts to move and I flinch. The girl crawls towards the cage and I curl my nails. She reaches for me, a pale hand passing through the bars without resistance. It freezes right in front of my snout. Is she checking to see if I would really bite? Has she no fear, offering her hand so fearlessly in the presence of a beast? In the cage. You're a beast in the cage. You might be a beast, but you're still in the cage. She is in control here. I may only be a pup, but the sheer force of my jaws can pierce right through her palm. Oh, I have a repel. I pull my face away from her hand and see her startled from my peripheral vision. She pulls her hand back and holds it against her collar. My eyes lock with hers as she stares at me with her lips pressing together. It'll be hard for me to protect you if you're too scaredy cat to do as I say. I am a bit of a scaredy cat character, so I can't promise anything. My eyes snap back to the girl. I watch as she stands up and wipes her hands on her dress, not showing a single care about how dirty it's become. Wait, did you want me to bite you? If you want to survive, you'll have to listen to my instructions. Okay, Dottie? She tilts her head like she expects me to respond. I don't speak human. Don't try to be too brave. If you're smart, you'll stay careful. The others had too much fight in them and made them foolish. My heart pounds in my chest from her words alone. She gives me another haunting smile. When your arm is better, I'll take you for a walk when he gets back. Is this what she sounds like when she's excited? It's unsettling. She suddenly moves close to the cage again. I jump back away, just enough where I don't risk getting into trouble with the vipers again. The scent of burning parchment and wilting lilacs returns. The girl's hair falls off her shoulders. I expect ink to trickle down and dye her dress black. My name is Dove. Horrible to meet you, Dub. 1. Roses. Oh, is this a chapter? Chapter 1? Wait, was it the thing I just read, or... this is chapter 1 now, okay. I spend the night nursing the dregs of my fever. When I'd first woken up, I didn't take notice of how much had already been soothed. But now, vague memories of violating hands surface into my thoughts. Did the girl Dove give me some kind of medicine during the height of my fever? My body still feels uncomfortably warm. I rest my head on one arm and glance at the other one that had been hurt earlier. A clean bandage is firmly wrapped around it, not enough to cut off the blood flow, but enough to restrict its movements. Was this also Dub's handiwork? I sighed softly through my nose, then closed my eyes. Time passes ambiguously in the cage, with nothing to reference. I don't know if it's been mere hours or days. A bowl of water sits in the corner of my cage. I know from the dryness of my throat that I need to hydrate, but I have yet to muster up the courage to approach the bars that slither and rattle every so often. When I'm desperate enough to finally quench my thirst, the bars relieving me keep their metal forms. Feeling better now, I curl into a ball and my tail cradles my face. I want to go home. Exhaustion catches up to me once again. I fall asleep on crusty metal and wake up on dusty wood. The sound of my wind chimes alert me into consciousness. My wind chimes? I have wind chimes? Or the sound of my wind. I almost thought he claimed the wind. No, he claimed wind chimes. I guess they were attached to his cage. Maybe that's what he means. My eyes snap open, and my retinas are immediately burned by the color that floods into them. On the floor in front of me is a kaleidoscope of lights created by the morning sun, a stark contrast to the dark and dreary setting I was previously confined to. Maybe I dreamed it all in a feverish haze. I check on the gauze around my arm. It's still there. A weight around my neck brings me back into focus. A collar is secure around my throat. Attached to it is a long, heavy chain that leads to the legs of a large wardrobe in the corner of a room, the bedroom. I take in my latest cage. There are no longer venomous bars to keep me in, but the state of confinement has not changed. My eyes move from the rainbows on the floor to the line of the chain restraining me, then to the rest of the room. I look at the windows and find swirling murals and expressive paintings of various creatures and monsters. The sun behind them illuminates the floor with speckles of color like a stained glass window. Past the frame of the window, the drawings continue in nonsensical scrawl. Less art decorates the wall, but shelves with cracked ant pots and hanging tangles of ivy take their place. Dirty cups and bowls sit forgotten in a dark corner. I briefly note two shallow dishes near where I lay. They look like they would have been used by a pet. Judging from the surprising lack of grime under them, it hasn't been long since they were last used. Dusty books and crumpled parchment litter the floorboards. Taking up half the room is a canopy bed. Dark curtains are pulled tightly together, preventing me from seeing inside. The sound of scratching captures my attention. It's a beautiful piece of artwork, yet they felt like they had to describe every bit of this. And it's a good description, because I didn't know what the thing on the right was. So, we know that's a canopy bed now. The sound of scratching captures my attention. I drag my gaze past the pile of books. There, sitting on a raggedy blanket hunched over and scribbling over the print in a book, is Dove. She gnaws on her lip and pinches her brow. I can hear her whispering something to herself. No, no, no. That won't work. I slowly lifted myself from the floor, cringing at the sound of clinking chains following my movement. Dove makes no move to acknowledge my presence, so I continue approaching her. When I'm closer to her back, I'm able to get a better look at what she's furiously writing. Scribbles of occult symbols make the words on the page completely illegible. I swallow a lump in my throat. The collar around my neck feels very heavy right now. Rip! Dove suddenly tears a page out of her book. The jarring sound makes me jump, and I slam into a tower of books, sending it toppling to the floor. Dread weighs heavily on me. I look back at Dove. She's now staring at me with wide eyes. Oh, hello. You're awake. I release a small help and stare at her dumbfounded. She's brighter. Or maybe it's the luminous light filtering through the bedroom window. Something about it paints her in a rose-tinted lens that makes my awareness waver. Rose-tinted, you say? Is that a reference to something? The feeling instantly vanishes when she gets up and rushes towards me. I run away as fast as my legs allow me, but my air supply is abruptly cut off and I'm thrown off my feet. A sharp howl is pulled from my throat. I look behind me and see the chain of my collar is pulled taut. I had reached its limit. I then see Dub standing in the spot I had bolted from. Her gaze creeps along the train, making its way to my crumpled form. I see blue eyes stare into mine and I shudder. It feels like she could unravel me through sight alone. She looks at me like she knows. Then she perks up, snapping the tension away. Oh right, you're probably starving. The others were also very skittish. What happened to the others? What happened to the others, child, when they had empty bellies? Her voice trails off as though she became lost in thought. How many others were there? 'Cause there are only 5. I think. Probably a little older than that. I don't know, you seem more intelligent than a 5-year-old, but like... listen. Don't kill me. She starts weaving through the mess of book piles and reach the bedroom door. What I'm saying is how can she live through like a couple of dogs' full lives? What happened to the other how many dogs have walked through here? Wait, here. I don't have much of a choice. Dub returns with a bread bowl and a roll. She sets bread down a couple of feet from me and retreats back to chew on her own food. I tentatively approach the bread. I'm a dog, man. Can we get some, like, meat or something? Come on. Really gonna feed me some bread, man? The bread smells like heaven, though. Okay, if it's that good, I'll try it. I lick my lips on instinct. It must have been an ages since I last ate, because I watch her tear chunks from it, and mark every little crumb falling onto the white dress with yearning. I look down at the bowl she left for me. The side of red, fleshy chunks great. Oh, she's eating her bread. I get flesh. That's great. Raw meat. She gave me a bowl of raw meat, bro. She does want me to die. I can't eat this. Even the dog knows. Can I try some of that bread instead? And I was complaining about it earlier, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, and I don't want to eat raw meat. Well, maybe I could, but the idea of it has nausea coursing through me. I stare at the fresh blood pooling at the bottom of the bowl. Then I glance over at the bread. Yeah, that seems a little bit better than this. Then back at the bowl, feeling confounded. My stomach growls. I can feel saliva start to drip down the side of my mouth. I can't do this. Are you gonna let it go to waste? Dub's voice comes from right above me, and fear flutters into my stomach. Okay then. I should have bit your hand, to be honest. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. My eyes snapped up. Dub reached for me, and I flinched, scattering away. She kneels in front of the bowl and dips her hand into it, crushing a fistful of squishy red meat between her fingers. Oh, don't touch my food! Don't touch my food! Come on! I already have to eat raw meat, and you're just gonna put your slithery hand all over it? Bruh. She brings the raw meat to her mouth. My character would freak out. He freaks out at everything, so I'm gonna choose that. I rush forward and clamp my teeth on her sleeve, tugging her arm away from her face before she can eat the raw bits of flesh. A sudden change in momentum throws her off her balance as she bends over her lap, with her free hand catching her from a falling over. She stares at me in bewilderment and blinks. The raw meat slips from her hand onto the floor. Blood seeps through the cracks and soaks into the grain of wood. What is it? She picks up the bowl and stares at the clump of tender flesh. Has the meat gone bad? She brings the bowl to her face and gives it a sniff. Her nose scrunches. It smells okay still. Dub stands up, scraping the piece of meat off the floor and throwing them back into the bowl, then starts to leave. Fine, I'll get you something a little more savory, like cheese. I'll take cheese at this point. Oh, I'm pretty sure dogs shouldn't eat cheese either. Dub returns with a new bowl of what looks like stew. Okay, I'll take that. I inspect it thoroughly, checking for insects or anything inedible. Oh, insects are pretty edible, actually. I've seen a dog eat a whole beetle, and dogs eat the strangest things. Come on. When I surmise that there's nothing of a sort, I dig in greedily. My eyes begin to sting after a couple first bites. The stew is so bland. It doesn't matter, man. You're hungry? It's cooked food. Eat it. It makes me yearn for my grandmother's cooking so bad, even though she sounded like a paranoid and heartless person. The cooking was great. From the corner of my eye, I can see Dub watching me like a hawk. Like, all it'll take is a single blink for me to disappear. If only I could. As I finish eating the stew, a soft thudding captures my attention. I look back to see my tail wagging against the floor. I feel myself shriek with embarrassment. I immediately cease its movement, but not before Dub takes notice. Looks like your energy has returned. Her eyes moved to my arm. Does it still hurt? I stare at Dub, then hesitantly put my weight on my wrapped up arm. The sharp pain is mostly gone, but a dull ache still remains. If the opportunity for me to run away came, I could probably do it, but not without difficulty. I make a frustrated whine. Dub tilts her head at me, considering my reply. She approaches me again, slowly this time. I hold my breath as she comes close, her hand hovering near the collar around my neck. I sound hyper-aware of how quiet it is. There's no drum of rain or crack of thunder to be heard from outside. Hope dares to grow inside my racing heart. Will you... I didn't read that. Can I go back? Will you hurt me if I take off? If I take it off? Well, I mean, I haven't thus far. I'll answer her, I guess. I shake my head slightly, cause somehow I still understand. I'm... Okay. Dub gives me a curious look. Oh, you are smarter than the average dog, I see. Her hand hovers for a short moment, then she nods. Listen, Dub, it's all a trap. I'm gonna make a run for it, okay? The weight of the collar lifts off my shoulders. Then I bolt. I knew it! My swift escape shoves Dub aside. I barely see her get thrown to the floor as I make for the open bedroom door. Yeah, I wasn't gonna hurt you. I was gonna get the heck out of here. Dub makes a panic noise behind me. It fades out in my rush to leave her behind. Then, I'm back in the hallway where the horrors begin. Oh, she's not happy. I need to go back to the kitchen. I sprint up the stairs. He must have been thinking the same thing as me. He must have been thinking, what the heck happened to all those other dogs before me? I'm out of here. Then suddenly, I'm skidding to the stop when a wall meets me at the end of the hall instead of the staircase. I stare in confusion. Did I go the wrong way? I look around the hall. I don't remember seeing this many doors. A sinking feeling unravels in my gut. I run down a new hallway, then a new hallway, and then another one, and turn into another. Yeah, here we go. And another, then another one. My exploration of the manor was cut short when I first arrived, so maybe I can't remember everything well enough. But I swear, these are not the same halls I've walked through before. After I turn into the 15th hallway, in this new labyrinth, the sound of something being dragged cuts off my thoughts. I look behind me, fear pulsing in my veins. A ghostly figure slowly walks down the cross-section of another hall. Ooh. Long hair protrudes from his head, running down to the floor stiffly, like straw, and hiding most of its long, thin limbs. Maybe she was trying to protect me from these creatures. I watch it disappear around the corner, completely frozen in my spot. Another ghost. I've never seen one this corrupted before. Oh, so you know about ghosts and how corrupted they can get? That's interesting. I guess their grandmother must have said something about it. I now feel extremely vulnerable, like a beacon standing in the long and open corridor. A tapping noise is next. My heart pounds violently in my chest as I search for the sound. I immediately see another ghost headed straight for me. No wonder why you're such a scaredy cat. Your grandmother's been telling you about all this stuff all your life, and yet you still decide to venture out into the woods in the middle of the night, in the rain, and now here you are. I yelp and crush myself against the wall, as if it will make me invisible. I'm about to die. The ghost staggers toward me with its bony knees knocked together. That looks like a bug. That looks like a ghost of a bug. A thin veil curtains its upper body, and something that resembles a bird beak peeks out of its chest. The closer it gets, the better I'm able to make out a detail of leathery skin and the beady bloodshot eyes that dapple across the face above the rotting beak. Needle-thin arms bend sharply at the elbow and reach back behind the ghost's head. It balances on its elbows and pulls itself forward on them. I make myself paper thin and shiver when parts of its elbow brushes against one of my paws. So like, I compressed myself into paper to get away from it. I start breathing again, and when it passes quietly, then backs away into an intersection of hallways. Another ghost almost tramples me. Oh my gosh. Two ghosts fall one another, down the path of the bird-like ghosts. They're having a whole ghost party over here. That looks like Medusa, and the other one looks like Medusa but with hands instead of snakes. One is a cluster of what looks like fungi and twisted fabric that melts into its bumpy flesh. A stringy network of mycelium trails behind it. What the heck is mycelium? The other creates a sound of glass crunching together with every steady step it takes. Bro, you should, check your feet. I don't think that's good for you, man. Its arms stick out like pieces of wood that likely swing as it walks. Where its face should be is a void, framed by jagged, broken pieces of porcelain skin. I can make out the raggedy maid uniform that clings to its bloated form. Do you clean the house? With all those hands, it should help, I guess. I follow the ghosts in a trance. Like a line of schoolchildren, they walk along a well-known path. Normally, when a ghost is corrupted from being trapped in the land of the living, every semblance of their humanity is lost. So, where do these ghosts stalk with so much purpose? They navigate the hallways without hesitation, twisting and turning through a route already well worn. Then, so painfully easy, I have been led back to the kitchen, where I have made my escape. Get out of here. I see Dove standing on the kitchen table, delicately twisting an incandescent bulb to the hanging light fixture. She's like, oh, my dog ran away, but I gotta change out these lights real quick. Dried black tears stain her cheeks, but her expression betrays no sign of dejection. I mean, she has helped me, live and stuff, so I do feel grateful, I guess. Another bulb is held loosely in her other hand. This one has been burned so badly that no light can penetrate its ashy, blackened surface. It took 40 years to develop this type of filament. The ghosts surround her. I watched him reach for her and opened my jaws to bark out a warning, but I choke on my rising panic. Oh, he still cares about her. He doesn't want those ghosts to do anything. Dub doesn't notice them and continues to screw in the light bulb. I read that these bulbs can stay lit up for 1,200 hours. Claws brush against her skirt, and yet, after less than a week, their legacy of lighting the dark has been snubbed out forever. And one last turn of her wrist, light envelops the room. Something so wonderful. Dove stares into the bulb's light, and her finger caresses the glass. Only breaks in a place like this. The ghosts have vanished. Dove gives no hint of awareness for the presence that had just left them. My blood thuds in my arms. Could she not see them? I look at the door that I had used to enter the mansion. I hear Dub dust off her hands and toss the old bulb in the box where it shatters amongst other pieces of glass. Crack. She sighs wearily. How long will this cycle continue for? I barely hear her words. Instead, I stare at the wall where the back door should be. And there is no door. I immediately freak out. Of course I do. That's my whole character arc. Ah! I run to the wall, ignoring the ache in my arm, and scratched at the old wallpaper, hoping the door was only hidden behind it. My claws tear for the wood, but as I continue scratching, the outline of the door did not reveal itself. I back away, staring at the shredded decoration and breathing rapidly. It's not there anymore. I turn my head up and see Dub standing on the kitchen table, swinging her legs. You're entrapped, aren't you? She stares at the wall I had torn up and gives me a blank expression. How dare you tear up my wall? This house is already falling apart. It's decrepit. And you want to tear up my wall? Come on, man. I'm gonna throw you out the window. I explode. My body ignites with fiery rage as I growl and snarl at her. It seems like she has no control over this. Bark, 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 bark. I mean, yeah, bark, bark, indeed. You just tore up the bark, bark out of my house. All the wood. It was so gone. She frowns, and her eyes turn downcast with guilt. I don't know how to get it back. I bark louder. I attack her. I force her to help. I give up. I like giving up. I'm lazy. I'll do that. I whimper and go back to the scratch the door, more in desperation. I mean, you can understand her, and I didn't think she had any control over the situation anyway, so why would I attack her? It makes no sense. I'm sorry. Enough. I'm tired of seeing you wallow in your despair. I reply with an indignant huff. I see Dub puff out her cheeks in annoyance. I turn my head away and rest it on my paws. There's no way out. It's better that you just accept it. A growl rumbles in my throat. Even the front door is gone, so instead of wasting your time, you may as well follow me and keep yourself occupied. I wish I could cry. You kind of did this to yourself, Basil. Let's just remember that, okay? My ears lay flat against my skull. I landed myself right in the mouth of the carnivorous flower, with the sweetness of shelter to lure me in. And I never considered whether it would let me go once I treaded past its sharp teeth. I take a peek at Dub. I mean, you knew about all this stuff, yet you still decide to just... I don't get it. It's like he wanted to see it for himself, and now you see it, now you're trapped. Man, must suck to be Basil right now. She doesn't seem to have any problems with being being a caged bird. Is she so comfortable living in these conditions that she can't even see how wrong it is? How wrong it is? Now she was probably born in these conditions. And some people are just born amongst wrong things. They have nothing to do but accept it. It's very unfortunate. How can anyone possibly live like this? You seem out of touch, Basil. Your patience, reach it, is the end, and she slides off the kitchen table. I cry out when she hauls me off the ground, and I bare my fangs at her when her face appears right before mine. My glare doesn't faze her. Follow, Woof. There is so much to do. We return to the labyrinth of hallways. Dub seems to know her way around them well. Now that I'm not frantically running through them, I notice how much different the atmosphere of the manor is. Less dirt coats the floor, ceiling lights illuminate the hallway, and it almost feels peaceful. Dub stops by the closet in the hallway. She grabs onto the handles of the door and opens it to reveal shelves and cupboards of miscellaneous tools and supplies. She climbs a stool and reaches the highest shelf and retrieves a box with small buckets and brushes. The stool she stands on starts to sway and I tense. She climbs back down without issue and leads me into the room I recognize. She makes her way to the broken side table I spotted when I was first exploring the rooms of the mansion, and I take the time to look around. A dining table with only 3 chairs takes up most of the room. Candles spike up from the top like stalagmites. Stalagmites? Stalagmites, I think. There's so many. I think I would redera render render a fire hazard. They would render a fire hazard if they were all to be lit. Hardened wax drips over the edge. I can see the end of the fountain pen as well as scraps of paper. I'm unable to see the well of ink from my position, but I assume that's what runs down the dusty tablecloth in the dark splotches. You really love noticing how everything looks, don't you, Basil? A glint catches my attention. On the other side of the room, I'm unsettled by the mirrors that cover the wall from floor to ceiling. Of course, I need Basil's personal opinion on the decor of this haunted mansion. I swallow a lump that forms in my throat and do not let my eyes linger on them. I lay on the floor and watch her slather strongly scented glue on the broken leg of the table. She roughly connects the broken leg to the rest of the table and fans it with her hands so it dries faster. She tests its sturdiness and with a light finger, then scrunches up her nose when it wobbles. She twists around and digs in the box, then pulls out a roll of twine with a bright expression on her face. My brow furrows together. Dub twirls the string around the leg and binds it tightly. When she's done, she sets the table straight again. It still rocks unsteadily, but it stays standing. That seems to be good enough for Dub, because she picks up her box again and gives it a nod. She's just gonna go around fixing things in the house. I wonder if she even uses everything in this house. Crash! I leap from my spot on the floor and spin to the loud noise. Of course I do. I'm so frantic. In the corner of the room, the long-haired ghost from earlier stands, bent over the broken vase. How dare you break my vase, ghost? I flinch when Dub lets out a startled noise and starts to stride towards it. I bark in alarm. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. She ignores me. Ziri, yeah. I grab the back of her gown with my teeth to stop her. Dove's demeanor goes from angry to taken aback. She stops and looks down at me. I shock myself with my own actions and quickly drop her skirt. Dove considers me for a moment, then switches her attention back to the ghost and marches over to him. This ghost is about to get an earful, I swear. You klutz. My jaw drops. She is friends with these things? I don't need another person to clean up after. The ghost laces its long fingers together and bows its head. When Dove gets closer to it, she stumbles and cries out. The ghost snaps his head back up to her. Dove checks the bottom of her foot and sees a shard embedded in the flesh. Red blooms from the small wound. The ghost makes a groaning sound and steps towards Dove. She hisses when it walks through the mass of glass and drags it with them. It's concerned for her? I observe their interaction, befuddled. Everything I know about corrupted ghosts is challenged. I pause to think about the ghost rushing to her side earlier. The ghost tugs on Dove's sleeve like it's asking for forgiveness. She continues to badger with it, while it's digging a shard out of her foot. I study them curiously. It wasn't because they wanted to cause her harm. I trail behind Dove when she leaves to treat the small cut, and when she returns to clean up the mess. We leave the ghost and Dove of continues down whatever to-do list she has in her mind. When she paints over the scratches on the kitchen door, trying to match the old wallpaper, she speaks to me. Have you met all of them already? She doesn't speak again until we run into another ghost. It waits in the hallway for Dove. Oh, it's the Medusa ghost. Hello. And she perks up when she sees what it's holding. Oh, thank you, Babbo. Look. Now these ghosts seem less menacing, and this seems less like a horror game. She takes a small bundle of red roses from it, freshly torn from its bush. I follow her to the window and see a tall, thin glass vase with withering roses in it sitting on its still. I have a feeling that if I would have attacked her, all the ghosts would have been like, hell no, and I would have been dead. This is the route where I survive, I think. Dub takes out the dead flowers and replaces them. Then she pauses and looks down at something below. Her face reveals nothing as she tears her gaze away and makes her way down the hall again. Before following her, I stand on my haunches and try to peer out the window. A chill comes down on me when I look down and see a small patch of graves, each marked by small wooden crosses. I break away from the unnerving sight and turn towards the hall where Dove had gone down. She stands at the end of the hall waiting for me. The bird-like ghost's name is Grell, and the doll-like ghost's name is Odette. Dove introduces them officially when we run into them, as we go around the manor doing mundane tasks. It's a sign I can't get used to. I can't understand how a young girl can act so normal around such monstrous beings. That's really how you get around monstrous beings. You show no fear. It seems like Dove is not afraid of any of these things. Seeing these translucent, leathery skinned, or the fluids that drip from their decaying flesh is enough to send me reeling. How dare you judge them? They were kind to you. They didn't kill you yet. But she does not flinch or have any fear. Earlier, when they surrounded her in the kitchen, she could tell they were there, leaving their arms together to wrap her in a ghostly embrace. And she didn't care in the slightest. I start to think that she's more disturbing than the ghost. To become this corrupted, they would have had to stay trapped in this plane for a long time. Why are they still here? Their horrific forms border on pitiful. To be this far gone. Are you really judging them right now, Basil? Are you dead? Do you know the situation? No, you don't, Basil. Shut up. It has to be some type of hell. Dove walks amongst them, as they were her family, though. Yeah, see, that's why they like Dove, and they don't like you, because you're judgmental as heck, man. No, that's not quite it. I reconsider my thoughts. Maybe. The image of the graves flashes in my mind. It's because she is theirs. I watch her guide Grell's gangly limbs out of the hallway so they can pass through, like they're nothing but an annoying sibling. A monster just like them. Maybe this cage she lives in is of her own making. I don't know about that. Dove does these errands like a routine, putting books away in the library and cleaning up candles burned to the end by their wicks. By the time she finishes winding up a long, arched grandfather clock in the hallway, the manor feels like it's a completely different place. The air is less stifled by dust particles, the rooms are brighter, and it feels like a home now. As we walk back to Dove's room, the sun begins to descend into a blazing orange horizon, and the evening cicadas make their shrill voices heard. Despite the manor feeling more livable, there is a feeling that gives me that I cannot shake. A void that looms like a present. It's like letters left unfinished, or tea half empty and turning cold. There's a sense of stagnation, that places this manor outside the time's reach, and it leaves a noise and buzzes persistently in the air. Dove stops abruptly, and I almost trip over my paws, trying not to run into her. I take a peek from behind her and immediately let out a yelp. Yeah! The first ghost I had met stands up in the hallway. Of course she's friends with this one too, right? Dove doesn't move. I see the ghost stagger down the hall towards us, and I instinctively back away. Then Dove speaks. It's okay. I'm not reassured in the slightest. The ghost gets closer, and I can see the details of her leaking entrails. I make a whimpering sound and hide behind Dove, keeping myself close to the wall. She's harmless. She doesn't do anything. I knew it. She just walks through everything. I throw a quick glance at Dove when her voice falters. But watch. The ghost is right beside us. Its milky eyes look down at Dove, and she holds its unseeing gaze with cold eyes. I don't breathe, but the sour smell of rot overwhelms my heightened sense of smell. The tension between Dove and the ghost creates a pressure that thins the air, making my lungs ache for oxygen. Pain seizes my chest because I'm not breathing. Just when I can no longer hold my breath, and the ghost continues down the hall passively. I exhale loudly. I startled. I startled. I startled. I startled when Dove clenches her fist beside me. My eyes follow the ghost for a couple of seconds longer, then she cuts off her stare and moves on. Did she just have like a mental fight with this ghost just to tell the ghost to move on? She just stared. They just had a staring contest that made the air thin. There's some tension right here. I quickly chase after her, not wanting to be alone with this particular ghost again, ever again, if my luck allows it. And that's funny. He's talking about all the corrupted ghosts being all, like, scared of them, but, like, she is, like, the scariest one because she reveals the most about herself, and, like, she's not corrupted at all, though. That's interesting. I look back for a split second, and the ghost has disappeared. Dove's shoulders are squared as we return to her room, since the sun has set in the opposite direction of her window. The scattering of colors from this morning is long gone. Her relationship with the hallway ghost is much different from the others. The way she spoke about her almost seemed resentful. I pad to a corner, stalling for a moment. When I see the collar from earlier on the floor, I narrow my eyes at it and pick it up with my teeth, and I throw it at the far wall. I give the collar one last glare and curl up on the floor. Dub settles cross-legged in the middle of the book tower and reaches for a random text. I let out a big yawn, feeling heavy after the events of the day. Me just walking around and not doing anything. Yeah. I guess I ran a bit, was afraid of the ghosts that were harmless for a little bit, I'm pretty sure if I would have stayed, she would have mentioned something. I don't know if there's enough time in the world to process everything that's happened to me since I left home. I close my eyes and feel the tendrils of sleep curl around me. Do you think people can come back from the dead? She asks it so quietly, I almost don't hear her. I don't think she expects an answer, and I cannot give her one. Dub's Roses. Oh wow, this is a very long demo. I'm gonna just say, there's a lot of work that went into this. Damn. Well, okay. Here we go. Hold on. I wince at the bites. The roses are extra hungry today. It's been so long since I've fed them, and their petals have been bleached white. I watch as my blood saturates the colorless flowers, then narrows my eyes when I spot a parasitic fungi at the base of the bush. Part of the bush is already starting to wither because of it. I reach down and tear the terrible thing out. I know more will sprout in its place, but I refuse to leave such a blight near my creation. I walk to a different section of the greenhouse and throw it right next to the corpse and the fungi's latest victim. My heart clenches at the sight. My eyes are still open. I press my fingers down on the lids of the dead wolf, but it's too late. What? Hold on just a second. Hold on. Just a moment. We just transferred from the wolf's perspective to Dub's perspective, and I died? So maybe that's why I'm stuck in the house. I'm trapped in the house because I'm dead now. Did she bring me back to life? Is that what this is? I press my fingers down the lids of the dead wolf, but it's too late. The terror on its face is already cemented in time. My fingers curl and my nails stab into my palm, making the bite sting. So this is what happened while the dog was passed out. Me, the dog. I return to the rose bush and continue to feed them. Thunder and lightning flash above me. Will it lure into another pitiful soul tonight? Lure in. Slam! I hear a door slam and I flinch, crushing a bulb in my hand. My ears listen intently, searching for the lingering traces of its presence. When I find none, I take a deep breath and finally let myself relax. I tear the bulb from its stem and my hand falls to my side. The sound of rain is so clear now, as I close my eyes to let it wash out everything else. I relish in its violence against the roof of our greenhouse and tremble under the crisp cracks of the thunder. To pass that time, now that it is mine again, I whisper something my mother taught me under my breath. Then I hear a whimper come from behind me. Thank you for playing the demo! Hey, I'm gonna go back and bite her hand. Very good. Very cool. I love the art. The art was very OP. I love it's got a lot of starry energy. And now, Now we're gonna go bite someone's hand real quick. Does it matter where you go? Let's see. The cellar door. You find the door to the cellar and the wood looks rotten, but it doesn't give when I put my weight on it. It's too heavy for me to open without thumbs. So we go to the window, right? I spy a broken window and see a gauzy white curtain flashing against the glass from the intruding storm. Oh, I bet I could jump in there. Oh, nope, no, sadly it's too far for me to climb. There's no way I can jump in this state. Cool. I made the right decisions. Okay, now we bite her hand. The expression of the girl's face scares me into crushing her hand with my fangs. Fire fills my mouth and I jerk away, wiping the girl's blood off my tongue with a paw. Blood should taste like pennies, but hers burns like acid. The girl retracts her hand and I follow its movement. Her lips wobble as tears leak from her ghoulish eyes. Away from the cage, she cradles her bleeding hand. Bro, she just helped you. She saved you? How dare you, Basil? I feel a sting in my chest, my ears flatten on my head. A deep red stains her white dress after taking a few deep breaths. She curls her fingers to test her sentience. She looks at me with a proud expression. Despite the pain, she must be suffering. I recoil to avert my eyes in discomfort. I wonder how long it'll take you to lose that aggressiveness. Snap! I feel my body go numb. Something behind me catches the girl's attention. She frowns. I'm fine. I jerk my head back behind me and see nothing. The girl's eyes snap. My eyes snap back to the girl. I watch as she stands up and wipes her hand on her dress, not showing a single care about how dirty it's become. Are we going back into it? Oh, she doesn't care that I bit her hand. It just continues on like nothing happened. Oh, okay. This is the same dialogue, so we're gonna go to, I watch her eat the raw meat. Here we go. Bile rises in my throat as I watch her chew through the raw flesh and swallow it with a sickly gulp. She covers her mouth with the back of her hand and gags, then looks at me. She smiles at me, her teeth stained in glistened blood. What a horrible taste. A thin stream of blood flows out of the corner of her mouth. I suppose you'd like something a little more appetizing. She gags again, then runs out of the room. Oh no, she's sick, right? I hear the sound of her retching from another room. Dub returns with a new bowl of what looks like stew. I get the stew anyway, at least. Okay. It's the same one. I complained about how bland it is. I have a very whiny character. I play dumb. I dumb dog. I stare at her blankly. Dove gives me a disappointed look and gnaws on her bottom lip. She's like, I know you understand me. You are just... You're just... It's so annoying, Basil, sometimes. Her hands hover for a short moment, then she nods. She takes off the collar anyway, and then I bolt. It was the same. Okay. I bark louder. Oh boy. Bark, 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 bark. Dub covers her ears and glares at me. Doing that will solve nothing. You're wasting your breath. I need catharsis. I whimper and go back to scratch at the door some more in desperation. I'm sorry. Enough. Oh, yeah, enough, okay. Alright, let's see what happens if I force her to help. Yes. I look past Dub and see the window. I perk up. The window. We can break it. Alright, pause and take note of how far the window is from the floor. Well, maybe not me. Dub sits on the table, looking bored. She's like, I've done this 20,000. This dog, man. I take a deep breath. Bark. Imagine we do escape. There's like a secret route where we actually escape the house right now. Dub jumps and Her eyes swivel down to me. Well, what? I point my nose at the window and it takes Dove a second to understand my gesture. She blinks and turns her head to the window. Her lip frowns in confusion. The window? She looks down at me with her furrowed brows. What about it? My tail wags behind me. I ignore it and look around for something that will help her understand what I want. I spot a stool underneath the table, and my ears stand up straight. Dove leans over and watches me drag the stool out with my teeth. I throw my body weight back to pull it out until it falls over. Then I look at Dove and point my snout at the window again. She hops off the table and picks up the stool. She's like, "You played dumb before. You really think I believe that you're dumb now?" Yeah, I don't think so. She holds it up, still wearing a befuddled expression. You want me to... She raises a brow at me. Put it by the window? I huff. Throw it at the window. Throw it at the window. Yip. I nod and my tail wags quickly. Dove looks at the window hesitantly. She stares at her reflection in the glass. I never tried breaking the windows before. Oh, here we go. Maybe we'll get something out of this. Dove stumbles slightly and then I grab the bottom of the dress and lead her to it. When I feel her slightly resist, I look up and Dove's face appears paler than I thought was possible. I see her swallow before she starts moving on her own. She climbs onto the counter with the stool in her hand. It slips slightly in her grip, and she wipes her hand on her dress. She raises the stool, and my heart starts to quicken. The stool comes down, then stops. I whine in confusion. Dove stares at the window with wide eyes. I follow her line of sight and see it. A pale hand grips Dove's arm. I look past it and let out a sharp cry. Dove's reflection stares back with blackened eyes and wide distorted smile and leaks dark bile. I can see Dove's hand trembling, and the reflection speaks. Bad girl, you know better by now. Ice spreads through my veins. I hear Dove's breath hitch. Then I hear something else. Tiny, wooden footsteps fill the silence. I stay completely still and slowly slide my pupils to see small flutters of movement from the shadows of my peripherals. I hold my breath. The footsteps start to grow louder. I hear Dove's hiccup, and my eyes slide back into her panic. Oh, so here comes the person I need to be most afraid of, right? Even more than the white ghost. The reflection crushes Dove's wrists, black webs spread from where they touch. Its beady eyes crinkle as it grins, stretches wider, and it pulls Dove in closer until their foreheads almost touch. Behave, Dove. The reflection barks out a howling laugh, then shoves Dove away from the window. Dove shrieks and flails her arms. I yelp and throw myself under her to soften her fall. She crushes me with her weight and we fall into a messy heap on the floor. My vision swirls and my whole body rages in agony. The sound of reflection's laughter fades away and the wooden feet start to retreat to my relief. Then we recover again. Dove stands on shaky legs and I can see her trying to control the haunted expression she wears. She holds her wrists, and black veins now fade from where the reflection had touched her. I let out a soft woo. She got hurt because of me. She stumbles to the table and plants herself back on top of it. No, she didn't get hurt because of you. She got hurt because of that thing. I whimper and go back to scratch the door more in desperation. I'm sorry. Enough. I'm tired of seeing you wallow in despair. Oh, what happens if I attack her? I don't want to, but we're gonna do that. We did get some more. I wonder if that actually changes anything in the long run. Like, if I kept going with that option, if it changes anything in, like, the end. But it seems like the end just goes back to the beginning, so maybe not. Um, I'll attack her now. Oh my gosh. My lips peel back viciously. Dub cries out and hauls her legs up on the table when they narrowly miss being snapped at with my teeth. What are you doing? You've gone mad. I jump up and catch her dress with my fangs, and with a thrash of my head, I pull her down onto the floor. She screams and lands on the hard wooden floorboards. My movements falter at the sound. I look at Dub's crumpled form on the ground and see her shakily raise herself onto her elbows. Elbows? My ears instantly droop when I see tears in her eyes. All the fight is immediately extinguished from my body. My body lowers and whimpers slip out. Why did I do that? Yeah, I knew this wasn't in my character's arc. I feel my eyes sting. I hurt her. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did that. I made you do that this time. No, this one was your fault. Dub stifles and sits up and pushes back away from me. I clench my jaw and stand straight up again. I need to apologize. Yeah, you do. I take a step forward towards Dub, and she instantly flinches. Then, before I can take another step closer, a screech knocks me back. Yep, I knew that ghost would not like this. My heart leaps out of my body when the long-haired ghost manifests out of nowhere with its teeth bared in a hiss. I cry out and flatten myself to the ground. I stare with wide eyes as its lanky body starts to crawl towards me with twitchy movements. Its body clicks and cracks with every tiny motion. My breath comes out in a quick pants. Oh god, oh god, oh god. The ghost's body tenses, ready to close the short distance between us. I make a high-pitched whine and shrink closer to the floor. There's no mercy now. Terror has me completely paralyzed. The ghost releases another blood-curdling screech, then it vanishes. Panic continues to surge through me. My eyes dart around the room sporadically, desperate to confirm that the ghost is gone. I jump when Dub moves in my peripherals. She stands, smooths out her dress, and turns her head away to wipe her cheeks. Then she turns a cold gaze towards me. There is no way out. I whimper, go back to scratch the door some more in desperation. I'm sorry. Enough. And let's see it. Let's go ahead and skip. Where's the skip? There we go. Because, yeah, it doesn't change anything in the end, but we did get some different stuff. So, we did try to escape. And that man, I'm pretty sure it's that man we saw at, like, near the spiral staircase that's, like, keeping her trapped here. So, I am pretty right in knowing that it's not her fault, most likely. Anyway, that was Dicentra. Thank you guys so much for watching if you got this far. And I'm very happy I got to do a video like this again. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.